Some of you people are like a bunch of hungry piranhas just waiting for somebody to slip up or muff up a recipe, and when they do, you guys bombard me with requests to do it, presumably to shit on their recipe. In this instance, it was Joshua Weissman's Krispy Kreme donuts. He tried to make a better version of them, but his came out looking a little bit dense. The shapes were a bit out of whack. Now, unfortunately, stuff like this does not excite me anymore, because even though I'm still a pretty small YouTuber nobody, I can't do anybody's recipe and not have them see it and give me a taste of my own medicine and critique me back.
David Seymour, the YouTuber, reviewed the Nashville hot chicken sandwich.
Do you know David Seymour?
David, you left the almonds out.
Now, because of all this, I'm not just doing Joshua's and comparing it to the original Krispy Kreme. I'm gonna do both his and Claire's version from Bon Appetit, and then just pick one, whichever one I enjoy eating more. With that all being said, the stage has been set, so let's get right into this one. Alrighty, so Mr. Joshua Weissman is going to be up first today, and he's becoming a bit of a regular on the channel. I think this is the third or fourth recipe I've done from him. And for his version, I grabbed some flour and kosher salt, some vegetable shortening and active dry yeast, some corn syrup and white sugar, powdered sugar, vanilla extract, a few eggs, some water, and some whole milk. Now overall, I'd say that these two recipes are going to come together pretty similarly, but there are some key differences in rising time and techniques, starting with the fact that for this one you have to bloom your yeast in some warm water and milk for at least 10 minutes before adding it into the stand mixer with all your other ingredients. If you want to know every single ingredient and how much of it went into this stand mixer, the link to Joshua's original video is down in the description to go check it out afterwards. Now this dough came together really nicely. It feels really great and pliable, so we have to let it rest for an hour at room temperature, and in the meantime I threw together my glaze, with the most interesting ingredient being the corn syrup. According to Joshua, this is going to give our finished glaze that like cracky, almost shardy finish, or Krispy Kreme donut finish, in other words. Once that was complete and my dough was fully risen, I broke out my new pack of circle cutters and cut these hopefully more proportionately than Joshua did. A major complaint on his video was the fact that his holes were huge. I don't know why that happened. They looked fine when he cut them originally, but between cutting and cooking, something went very wrong. These guys, on the other hand, did not have that problem. They came out looking really good in my opinion, actually. So I finished them off with my glaze, and now it is time to give them a try. I gave these a little bit to set up because Josh said you're supposed to let the glaze harden and get crispy, but it's so damn hot and humid today, they really didn't. 2 nights ago, it was 30 degrees outside, and now it's 82, so I love New York weather. Besides the proportion of the holes, the other huge complaint on Joshua's video was the density. This Krispy Kreme is really light and airy, and these aren't, but in my opinion, that's okay. They're still super soft and delicate on the inside while having that crispy fried ring around the outside, and they're not oily at all. I'm gonna try that little oil test to see if it comes out at all. Look, literally nothing. I have no problem with these. If I was served them at like a coffee shop, I'd be more than happy with them. There's nothing artificial about it. I think you all just need to calm down. It's only a donut after all, but it's a very strong start to this one. Contestant number 2 in today's donut showdown is Queen Claire from Bon Appetit, and she grabbed some flour and vegetable oil, kosher salt, and ignore the white sugar. We don't use it. I don't even know why I put it there. We do have to use powdered sugar and unsalted butter, some honey and active dry yeast, vanilla extract, a few eggs, and some whole milk. Just like the last one, we have to mix together our wet ingredients first, and the most interesting part of this version is the honey. But I'm not entirely sure why it's there. No bread or cake or donut or any yeasted product I've ever made has had honey in it. I don't think you're gonna taste it much. So if there's any crazy chemical or textural differences this is gonna make, let me know down in the comments. Now eventually that wet stuff gets added to our mixer with flour, salt, some more honey, yeast, and butter. And I know these are supposed to be pretty wet doughs, but this one is looking like a dough soup. I'm not sure what happened here. I measured every ingredient on my scale by weight, so I don't know if the scale's broken or the recipe's off a little bit, but I had to add a few tablespoons of flour because this was not coming together at all. Eventually, I did have it in a somewhat decent spot, so I flicked it out onto my counter, formed it into a nice ball as well, and this one is gonna rise at room temperature until it doubles in size, and then it goes into the fridge until it chills completely. About 10 hours later, this dough was humongous and super cold all the way through, so I rolled it out into about a ½ inch sheet and then cut out as many circles as I could. I forgot to mention in the last one, you don't really want to re-roll together the scraps to make more donuts. Just use the scraps for like donut holes or something because it comes out way too dense when you do that. Now the biggest game changer by far is the fact that Claire lets her cut donuts rise a second time until they're completely puffed and almost room temperature. So while that's happening, I threw together the glaze for this one, and we have a bit of an issue. Claire uses coconut oil in place of Joshua's corn syrup to get that cracky texture, and as you guys know, I can't eat coconuts, so I was trying to think of a substitute that's a fat but also solid at room temperature. The only one I could really come up with was a bit of melted butter. I think any other oils would have completely ruined the texture of this, so let's cross our fingers for butter. But now that that was complete and our donuts were risen for a second time, we can pop them in our 325-degree oil for a few minutes on both sides. This is another huge difference. Joshua fried his at 375 for less than 100 seconds on both sides, so it's closer to a flash fry than anything. Claire goes for the low and slow method. It's going to be interesting to see how it pans out versus the last one. I was pretty satisfied with the way these came out too. The cooking time and temp didn't seem to make a huge difference, so I finished these bad boys up with my second glaze, and it is time to give these a shot. As you just saw in the last shot, we have a bit of a glaze issue here, and I don't think that's from the butter. I think it's because I made the glaze a little bit too early, and then it sat out and developed some like dried out parts on the top, and those little bits are what you're seeing. That's purely cosmetic though. It should not change the taste or texture whatsoever. I just had to check and make sure I had the right donut. This tastes the same. The flavor profile is almost exact. You don't get the honey at all. There's a little more mass to this, but as far as density and flavor, they're almost identical. Actually, I can't even believe I'm about to say this because of how much time these rose for, but if you compare them side by side, Joshua's the top one, his almost looks airier, less dense than Bon Appetit's. I have no idea how it's possible, but you can see in the crumbs, Joshua's is a lot looser. There's a lot more air pockets in it. Again, I like them both because they're pretty similar, but for how much time and effort you save, I think you gotta pick Joshua on this one. Now stop leaving him rude comments, because I know how that feels, and it's not good. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, leave me a like. It is much appreciated. Let me know what recipe you want to see next week down in the description. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram if you do not already. Other than that, have a fantastic weekend, and I will see you right back here next time. Peace.
With the M without the AD. Flipping burgers and my money super lazy. Try and make a meal tonight, they ain't paying me. Try and supersize my life with my 18. Yeah, our style wasn't wavy, but we had a vision.
The bong makes a good point. Unless you're baking when shit's important, and I don't bake. As evidenced by the fact that David Seymour rated my banana bread 4th out of 4. And I'm not bitter. I'm not really, because we won the Nashville Hot Chicken, so. I'm not bitter. Not keeping score, though. I'm not bitter. David, you left the almonds out. I'm not bitter. But it's enough of that.